guys, another Zapp commentary podcast here, and Corry, your host. I brought some friends along with me this week. David is back. David's returned. Dave, how you doing, bud?
You know,
It's been a while since you've been on here.
yeah.
Where you been?
I've been here.
Okay. I got Nick, our trusty companion here. What's up, bud?
Nothing, man.
Nothing
much. Nothing.
And El Doctor, Dr. Johnny Knoll.
How's it going?
So I want to, guys, I know you guys know this, especially Dave. You directly know this. It's kind of been a problem the last few years.
I know things.
Is the madness that is now of Comic-Con tickets. And we're going to focus on New York Comic-Con because the San Diego one doesn't affect us at all because we're on the East Coast, obviously. The New York Comic-Con is just as big as San Diego. It'd be bigger, I think, if the venue was bigger.
More people went last year than went to San Diego last year.
Technically, yeah, but I think if New York, which just always annoyed me, New York is supposed to be like the best city in the world, whatever, and it should have the biggest everything. It does have the biggest convention center. Why is that?
Politics.
Yeah, I guess so.
They ran out of space.
And nothing wrong with Javits. It's just that it's not big. It should have this huge center.
Well, you know what? It's politics, and of course they can't do anything like. I mean, the ideal space would be the Meadowlands. You just knock down where the Super Arena is, that mall thing. You could build a huge thing right there, but they wouldn't do it because it's New Jersey, New York.
Yeah,
so they, God forbid, But
They take all of the sports teams. They just drop them in New Jersey, and they're like, "No, it's New York." Everyone.
So
shut
I
up.
think if the venue was bigger, it'd be a little bit easier. But stores like us and other stores in the area always carried Comic-Con tickets, and up until a few years ago, it was no big deal. You could come into the day of and get tickets, and then like 4 or 5 years ago, I realized, I remember the morning of like the Saturday of Comic-Con, we got calls from like 2 or 3 hours away, making sure we had tickets. They would come up here, buy tickets from us, and then run to the city. And they were like, wait a minute, this is getting big. And then all of a sudden, they sold out instantly. And then last year, we actually had to put a date on it, because normally you would just get them in and sell them. We actually had a date and a time when they went on sale. People lined up the night before. We had like 350 people outside. We only had, I think, like 200 tickets or something like that. I forget what it was. We had to cut the line off. Yeah, it was still a lot. We had to cut the line off. And the phone will not stop ringing up until the Comic-Con as far as tickets. So this year they no longer have us do them, which I know a lot of guys were upset saying, "Oh, it's not fair. Like why does only Midtown get them?" Listen, Midtown is like one of the biggest stores on earth, okay? And I'm pretty sure they're an official sponsor of Comic-Con, so they actually deserve to have them.
And they're the poster child of comics in New York City.
Yeah, which is fine. It's held in New York.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so I have no problem with that. And people need to understand, though, is we don't make money off these tickets. Okay, which isn't a big deal, because it used to be like, listen, we'll promote your store, and you promote the tickets, so, like, it's kind of like a...
quid pro quo.
Exactly. But the thing is when I have a line outside overnight, and I have to have my staff come in at, like, 5 in the morning and get everything ready, and then we have to do crowd control and make sure that there's no scalpers there, and we limit the tickets, and people are screaming at us, and doing all that for basically no money, which it's not fun.
But it was so much fun.
And there was so much blood.
So I'm glad it's at this level where it's huge, but I just want to clear the air that comic book stores aren't really upset that they don't have them, because other stores, I know, we're scalping them, we're selling them early, selling them online, like taking care of customers before they went on sale and all this other stuff. And the other thing is too is it's also a money issue. If I lose just one ticket, I have to pay for that, meaning they send us so many tickets, and whatever we don't send them back, we have to pay for, because we technically sold it. So if somebody gets a hand on one of them, or if I lose one or misplace one, that's money out of our pockets, and they say, hey, listen, you only send 10 back, so we're charging you for the other 190, whatever it is. We got to pay for it, and we can't argue with them about it. So it's a little bit easier on our end. I do feel bad that a lot of the regulars and a lot of the guys that go every single year who are from here can't go because they couldn't get the tickets online, which is a bummer. That's the problem when something that you love becomes huge.
Mm-hmm.
And it's astronomical, and it's very mainstream now, which it's one of those things. This is what we wanted, and when we get it, everybody complains about it. So there's nobody to blame. It's just big.
I blame Corry.
It's just big, and it's getting bigger, and I don't know if it's going to go away anytime soon, especially if you see Avengers just hit $1 billion already.
Oh my God.
And Star Wars hasn't even come out yet. So
so many dollars.
So Dave, because you're here a lot, especially answering the phone when the phone rings. during Comic-Con years.
Mm-hmm.
Now, how excited you are this year to get less calls?
So when Comic-Con tickets went on sale, what was it? Like a
Wednesday. It was
Wednesday,
a few days ago, yeah.
That we were still getting calls.
Because people are desperate. They like
Still
getting
getting
them.
calls. I know when it comes to 2 weeks before Comic-Con, we get a call, I'd say, at least one every half an hour. That's like generally speaking. The week before, it's like one every 15 minutes.
In the week of, it's
The
like
week
one
of,
every minute.
Yeah, it's out of control. To the point we pick up, we'll be like, Zapp Comics, home of the out of Comic-Con tickets. I apologize. How can I help you? And then the desperation over the phone. It's just the stories, the how far people travel to pick up these tickets. Like that line that was outside last year, people were there 12 hours before we opened to get a shot at this from Virginia, from like all over the U.S., driving like
Maryland,
4 to 5, 6 hours just to wait outside of our shop in New Jersey for a chance to maybe get a Comic-Con ticket so that they can drive home and then drive to New York in, what was it, like a month and a half.
Yeah, because it was like, I think it was August, September-ish when we got them.
But even this week, we weren't selling Comic-Con tickets, and we got phone calls.
Yeah, and you can get them. I mean, obviously they sold out online, but that special edition show that's coming up in early June, you have a chance to get them there too, because they have booths set up at the back. I don't know. I think it's limit one per person, but you do have a chance to get tickets there. And there's also, I think in August, they're doing like a big event at Midtown in the city. I'm not sure which. I guess the main location. I'm assuming.
I don't know.
I think they're also going to have a Thunderdome that like everyone enters and whoever leaves gets a Comic-Con ticket.
Well, in San Diego, they do a lottery system.
Yeah.
See, online here when they did it, which I think was a mistake, was it was like people waited in the queue for like 3-4 hours sometimes to get a ticket. In San Diego, it's like a half hour. Your name goes into a lottery system, and then it pops up what you can get and you can buy. And I think they're registered to you where you can't even resell them.
Yeah, you get
Wow.
like a login ID number.
Yeah.
You can't
So
get it without
it makes it
having
hard.
that.
Makes it harder to sell them, which I think they're going to have to do here. The thing I've never gone to a Comic-Con and paid for it. I've only gone as a worker or with an exhibitor badge. So
Well, look at you.
no, I'm just saying, like, I don't, like, you know what it is, when we were younger, Comic-Con, it was cool, everybody went, but it was never a struggle to get in.
Yeah.
Like, I would never want to go to San Diego now. 20 years ago, I would love to go. I have no interest in going now. I would rather go to Special Edition or East Coast Comic-Con, because those are, like, true comic shows. Now, it's so, congested with pop culture, which is fine, but, like, I want to dig in the bins. I don't want to go, see, like, all the entertainment stuff. I'm not into that. I'm into the old stuff.
How I see it now is it's kind of like this is the event.
Oh,
I know there's
yeah.
two of them, but this is the event. So this is kind of like going to the red carpet. This is like going to the Oscars.
Oh yeah, if you go to Comic-Con, it's a big deal.
And the celebrities are there. They're announcing movies or announcing brand new books. This is a big deal. If you wanted to go and dig through the bins, that's why they have these things like special edition, all these Comic-Cons that pop up. I'd see that it's like the Sundance, where the film people, I mean, that's where they are. And I think that it's really been split, but people want like the Hollywood side of things, and that's where it is now. And I mean, we're there. There's a lot of different exhibitors, a lot of different, just like, I know book publishers are there, like the fantasy books to like Penguin. So I mean, the whole industry, whether it's comic books or even related, everybody's there. So this is the big event, and it's no wonder that it's so big right now, because it's not only that, people may not be digging through bins, but when it comes to, characters like Captain America, who no one cared about, say, 7-8 years ago, I mean, people are there dressed up as these characters. People are there to pick up merchandise that's exclusive to this one weekend. So I mean, people are complaining that it's not the small thing that they once loved, but the thing is, it's still there. It's just so many more people love it, and it's become something much bigger than it was.
Yeah, so. No, and you Johnny, you never went to these before. You went last year.
I went last year. I mean, I used to go to like smaller ones.
Yeah.
I mean, there was nothing that like this. I mean, there was San Diego, but there was nothing remotely like this.
No, because New York's been around. I don't know how many years. I think 8 years, maybe 9. It used to be held in February. It wasn't a huge deal.
Well,
it was
nice. I went to a couple. Like there was one that it was like in the summer. It was at MSG. It was like at like you were in a room. Like I mean, it was a reasonably sized room. It wasn't packed. I remember that was like right in like the late '90s, and I remember going to one. There was a church by Columbus Circle, and they had it in the basement. I mean, it was like the parish hall, so I mean, it was a huge room, and they had an artist alley. I remember seeing Ben there, you know, but it wasn't packed, it wasn't crazy. I mean, it wasn't anywhere near what it's become, you know. It's
huge, and I think a lot of it has to do with they're very smart with timing. They move it to October, and Walking Dead premieres that weekend.
Yep.
They always have an event for it. I mean, I think 2 or 3 years ago they had that panel for Walking Dead, and like people lined up like 4 days ahead of time just to get a chance to be in line for that, and a lot of people got shut out on that. And I think your generation, Nick, is driving most of this because
way to go, Nick.
You know, you
I don't
guys
even have keys to that car.
you guys are like you're new to this, and you guys are everywhere, which I love.
Yeah.
You guys are the new 52, the Walking Dead type generation that's coming in.
What's The Walking Dead?
You in a minute if you keep talking like that. You know what I mean? Like your generation is really flourishing with this because of the movies.
Yeah.
You know the video games, the T-shirts, everything. I mean, you guys used to come in here for Pokemon when you were younger, and now you're coming in to pick up a Sandman and a Walking Dead trade.
Yeah.
Which is amazing because I've been here since 2006, and I see
You're
kids.
old.
I see kids that were buying Pokemon and Yu-Gi-Oh would disappear, and now they're bearded and they're buying like Satellite Sam, and it's really weird. But that's what it is.
The beard or the satellite Sam?
No, it's just,
Both.
Is it both? It's
the
a
little
bit
kid
of both.
that used to buy Pokemon that's bearded would buy a Satellite Sam. So
And all the covers on those are just butts. Like everyone is just a
Just butts.
It's just
like
a butt.
your generation like really embraced this you know.
Yeah, I think my generation got really lucky that comic books seemed to explode as we were getting to the age of really appreciating it. Like at that time, the movies came out, and then everything just got bigger from there. So it was kind of just the upswing that we all got caught into. But yeah, Comic-Con's an awesome thing. It gets crazy though. I remember, like Dave was saying last year, I remember talking to a woman on the phone from Michigan. It was like, "Oh, can you hold me 2 tickets? I'll be there in like 9 hours." And I'm like, "Ma'am, I don't think that works."
Yeah.
I was like, I can't hold these, and we're not open that long.
And 9 hours. It's just a
Remember
a
a couple years ago, the lady called you and said that you just ruined the kid's like birthday or something like that because you wouldn't hold the tickets.
Yeah.
Like she blamed you because you didn't have the tickets.
We didn't have tickets. Too.
Yeah, and
that's
she
the
blamed
worst
you.
part. It's like you ruined this child's life.
And I'm like, you know what?
wow.
I'm like, you know what?
Wow.
That's not the first one.
Yeah,
you know what's
I thought I
funny?
was just gonna come to work and sell comic books, not
But
to
what I
ruin
love
lives.
though, this is me.
Put it on
To
my
me, time
Facebook
is
wall.
money. Time is money. Okay, so I never understood like Black Friday sales when you see people waiting in line at Best Buy in a tent for a week. They get a $1,000 computer for $500 because like you just wasted a week of your life waiting for that. So to me, if you really want that computer, just spend the money on it. Because to me, like if I really, really, really want to go to Comic-Con and I'm like, listen, I missed out online. Now I might have to go to Special Edition and wait. And if I can't do that, I'm gonna have to try Midtown. And what if I can't do that? I would just pay even though I hate giving money to like secondary sources. If I really wanted to go, I would just pay for it because I'm like, listen, I want to go. That's what it's worth to me. If it's worth you waiting outside for days, just pay it, and then stay home. That's just how I am.
If you're gonna camp somewhere, don't camp outside of Best Buy.
No,
Camp
I
somewhere
mean
nice.
that can't be comfortable.
Camp somewhere with Netflix. Home.
So I'm just like it is like it's funny because like Comic-Con was one of those things that if you said it, people didn't know what it meant, and now it's like Free Comic Book Day. Comic-Con or Free Comic Book Day, it is such a household phrase and name. People all know what it means and what it stands for, and I love it because it generates business. It generates, where it's one big family. So whether it's a T-shirt that somebody might buy at JCPenney or, a Barnes & Noble selling a trade, it all helps us because it exposes them to it. Because the thing I hate is you hear people that live in the Midwest somewhere and they're like, yeah, the closest store to me is like 50 miles away. They don't want to hear that because if the kid is never exposed to it, he might never fall in love with, like Black Bolt or like, I don't know,
Howard the Duck.
or so, anybody. You know what I mean? Like that's the thing too. Is
No,
exposure
it's
is the biggest thing. So where every channel has a superhero show now. Big Bang references superheroes all the time. The movies are every year the biggest blockbusters are comic book themed movies, and this is, I remember seeing when Watchmen came out. Watchmen sold 1.1 million copies of the trade the year the movie came out, which is 20 years after the book came out.
It's crazy.
And it was cool to walk around with a Watchmen trade. Like if you had a Watchmen trade, you were the cool kid. When I was a kid, you
get me a Watchmen trade.
You put that in your bag. You know, you didn't really showcase it.
You know what, too, you're saying with that, too? When we were
we didn't have T-shirts. We couldn't even find T-shirts.
No, you couldn't. I mean, and there
You
was
guys
still
just
the
went
stigma.
shirtless everywhere.
Everywhere. There was no shirt.
You wore
skins,
short
it was just both
shorts,
skins.
and that was
Short
it all
shorts
summer.
and like a
And just
T-shirt with a little
laying around.
alligator on it. That was it. Or like a motorcycle or something.
That sounds cool, actually. I want motorcycle alligator shirts.
I want those short shorts.
Yeah.
But what were they like? It wasn't popular. And then like the late '80s, when the Batman thing came out, it started got popular. People's like, oh, comic books, but not the way it is now. It was because you can make money off of these. Look how valuable these like old Batman books or whatever. And then people started getting into it just because I'm doing it because it's an investment, and that's what blew up the industry because all these people were in it not because they enjoyed it. They were buying the books
because they thought it was an investment.
Exactly. And
They
they
all
were putting them
speculators.
away. They didn't read them. And that's why there was all these glut of books and everything like that. I mean, today it's completely different. I mean, people are into it, but they're like, "Oh, I want to read this. I don't give a crap." Like either they do here or they just.
Well, people don't realize Marvel filed for bankruptcy in the late '90s, and then in the early 2000s, the comic book market crashed. Like stores closed like overnight. It was bad. Like it was really hard to really stay open. And now you look at it where, look at. I mean, Disney.
Mm-hmm.
You know, Disney owns both Marvel and Lucas, and it's because of the properties. Is in Star. I mean, Marvel owns over 800 characters that they can use to license. And Star Wars is I don't know how many, but
They can make them up as they go along.
yeah. So
Just get a,
and they're fighting to get back.
original
Like
visions.
Marvel's fighting to get back X-Men, and they want they just got Daredevil back. They want these properties back that they literally gave away years ago because they didn't have a value to them. They just like, okay, you can have them just send us a check. Now they're like, no, we want them to make in how they want them back home, and it is insane how and you notice too the industry's stronger now because if you go back 20 years, and Nick, this is long before you're not gonna know this.
I was one.
Everybody knew the artist. Nobody knew the writer. It was always like Todd McFarlane, Rob Liefeld, Jim Lee, like Ron Lim. All these the hot artists. It was always artists. Stephen Platt. All these Jim Valentino, and they were like Eric Larson. All these guys, and then now, all the main books that sell are the writers. Everybody's looking for Brubaker, Remender, Fraction, Kirkman. Like that's the thing because people are reading the books. That's why it's such a big, heavy trade industry now is because everybody's buying the books. So the market's actually healthier now because nobody's buying stuff just to put away where they used to. And you know how many times every time somebody goes, I have a comic collection, they're really old, they come in with 90s books, and in that stack is a Spawn one, a Youngblood one, X-Force one, Death of Superman, because that's what they all bought. They didn't read them, they put them away because they were beautiful colors, beautiful pictures, splash pages, very little substance. And now it's the other way around. And now it's Scott Snyder, like people wait to see what he's writing, and Mark Millar,
Batman.
and Batman. People don't realize after the '89 Batman movie, Batman spiked, and then it slowly went down. And then before New 52, Batman was just a regular book. Batman and Detective sold like okay. New 52 catapulted. Now Batman is like literally untouchable up top. If you look at the top 10 selling books for April, it's all Convergences, Star Wars, and Batman. There's one Batman in the middle of the thing. The rest is all Star Wars and Convergence.
He's flying high again.
Dude, and he's got like 20 titles, and they all sell. Like he's got the entire top shelf of any store when you go into. Nobody else has that.
Well, he does. He's the beginning of the alphabet.
Well, you know what I mean, though.
Yeah.
But I'm talking about as far as like the real estate. That's
He's also
there,
a billionaire.
And
Yeah, he paid for it.
sidebar with it, and in the 70s, they almost canceled Detective because it wasn't selling. And the only thing that saved it was there was the Batman Family book, which was a $1 book, and it was doing well. So they just put that into Detective, and it saved Detective, one of the oldest books, and
Would have been gone
wasn't
long
selling.
ago.
Superman sold, Batman didn't until Return of the Dark Knight Returns. Blah.
And look at them now.
I know.
Take
Yeah,
that,
well, I know. I'm
Superman.
saying like that's why I think they were able to do that with Dark Knight back in the '80s, is because he was one of those characters they could do that with. They weren't as sensitive as because Superman was a juggernaut until like.
But he was in that too. I mean,
No,
he
I
was
know, but I'm
kind
just
of
saying.
treated-
But
you
like
know what
they
I
didn't
mean?
have to. They didn't. Nobody got. They did that now. People are like, what are you doing? So in Dark Knight, like again, they're doing a third one.
Yeah.
Which is going to make a ton of money. Everyone's
Yes.
going to buy it.
It's gonna be awesome.
It was.
Have you read the second one?
Haven't finished the first.
Don't. The second one doesn't
Only
count.
up from here. That's what I have
Okay,
to
so the
say.
first one is you need to read the first one. The second one, don't bother with it. The funny thing is on Free Comic Day, Dan Didio was here, and I was talking to him, and his phone was ringing, and he's like, "Corey, I hate to do this. I think I have to look at my phone." And he goes, "I'll be right back. I have to take this." It's Frank Miller. So it was kind of funny because Frank Miller called him while I was talking to him, and he actually apologized to me for going outside to talk to him. I'm like,
What do you think he said? You think he was just like, "What you doing?" Oh, nothing.
What'd you for
Bored.
breakfast? What'd you
What did
for
you get for
breakfast?
Free Comic Book Day?
Yeah.
I got the virgins.
Been thinking about you, Dan.
Yeah. This is awesome.
Do you think
comic
do you think
book.
they really killed Donatello? You know, what would you have done? You know, so.
Yeah.
Can you pick me up issue 4 of Howard the Duck?
Yeah.
But yeah, so going back to Comic-Con, the industry is healthy. The only thing, though, I will say this, is people think like, oh, there was 150,000 people at Comic-Con. Your booth must have been cranking. Not necessarily. This time it's not as busy as it used to be because there's so many people there, but it's not just the main floor. There's Artist Alley, there's the panels, they have an area for cosplay, they have the video game sections, they have, like, it's not one main floor. It's like if you go to Toy Fair, like I went to Toy Fair like 10 years ago, the big companies are like down the street in these private suites and hotels. They're not like in the main thing. I thought it was all one thing. Like, oh, you want to go see Playmates? Yeah. You hop in a cab, you go down there. It's like on the 3rd floor, and they have the whole entire floor. I didn't realize that.
Yeah.
So
Corey spent his whole time with Playmates. He wanted to see what new plastic slides they had.
they had the turtle license, dude.
Oh, they did?
Yeah.
I meant Barbie. Good joke, Dave.
Yeah.
High
Bar-
five.
Barbie's is Mattel.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Playmates makes the turtles.
Okay.
Let's be honest. You walked away with that pink Power Wheel. Don't lie.
No, he drove
I have a
away
pink
on
power
the
wheel for my
pink Power
daughter.
Wheel.
My daughter has a pink power wheel.
Well, you should let her use it more.
Pow,
Stop
pow,
hogging
pow.
it. But that's the thing too. Now, before Comic-Con, I think my first Comic-Con was 2006. So I don't. What is that?
How
The
old were you?
second one?
I think it was the second or third one. How old were you?
I was 18.
Okay.
So we went, me and my buddy Justin, and I remember like going there and like lining up, and the line now is the same line that if I wanted to go get bagels next door because they're having like a game across the street at the high school. It's the same line. But when I was online waiting there, I just looked over and I was like, holy crap, because sitting on this giant like stoop thing, like perched up smoking a cigarette, was Peter Mayhew. And so Chewbacca's just standing there, smoking a cigarette, just like, ugh. And I'm just like, this is awesome. Like, that was the coolest thing, that I got to wait behind 20 people. And then his wife went over, patted him on the back, and he just stood up and did his Chewbacca walk right into the exhibitor door. And I mean, there, Comic-Con, we didn't know what we were getting in for. We just walked in to see what everybody had. It was like the Wild West. We were all there. We all know what we liked. And every booth was ranged from Zapp Comics to Peter Mayhew to we dress up as stormtroopers to I'm trying to like Kickstarter before Kickstarter. And it was just all different. And I think now, more so than let's see what New York Comic Con has to offer, people are there for this is my costume, check it out. I'm looking for books. I want toy exclusives. I am going just for the panels. And the panels now range from, you can go there and see Robert Kirkman talk about the thousands of books he writes, or you can go and see like an academic debate. They have like NYU professors discussing like the legitimacy of, I don't know, like comic books in the like 60s. Like that's what they have. It's like college course versus like, I don't know, Avatar.
Well, they have events at
Blood
night
Pulp.
too. They have the whole week. The whole week of Comic-Con, there's like events at bars, and I think Nerdist usually does like their live podcasts, so like on a Friday night, whatever, and they sell tickets to that. So it's like I think they're gonna eventually add another day to Comic-Con. I think eventually Comic-Con's gonna be like Wednesday through Sunday because you can pretty much do the whole week.
Well, it's funny, like when you were saying to go into the conventions, like I didn't do it, and then this past October I finally went because everybody's, oh, come. And I was like, no, I didn't want to take off work, whatever. So finally, I don't like crowds. I don't have a phobia of them. I don't have a problem.
Yeah,
I don't like
the same way. I'm not a phobia. I just don't want
I
to be
don't
around
like people. I don't like being around people when that many people, because when you have that many people around you, they're rude, they're pushing, whatever. So I finally acquiesced and I said, okay, I'm gonna go on the Thursday. I'm gonna help out and do whatever. And like I said, that was the first time I got there. My brother-in-law drove in, and I remember getting there. And the line for Javits was around the corner.
Yeah.
Like it was literally going down to the.
And that's
to 12th.
Thursday. That's a preview night. I think they only sell like 40,000 tickets for that.
And it was, and that was before it was even open. It was crazy. So I went in and got the thing, and it was nuts. Just walking around and doing it, and I mean, it's cool. Like you see different things, and for me, I went to different booths. I didn't get to go to, like any of the forums or Artist Alley or anything like that. I just kind of helped out up there, and I went to all the different stores upstairs and stuff like that. But yeah, probably that's going to be it for me, because it's just not. It's too crazy.
You know what it was? I got a really good perspective of it when DC Comics had like a green room upstairs, and they brought me up, and I could see like the whole floor from up there, and it was like you realize how the layout is, because the one thing I always get being in the booth is like, hey, Corry, what's up? Hey, do you know where this is? And I'm like, I don't know where anything is. You don't understand. We just set up our booth. We don't move.
It's like a labyrinth.
But they go, you're here. You don't know where you don't know where aisle whatever is. I'm like, no, I don't. Like they kind of people get like confused. Like, you don't know where this is. I'm like, dude, I have one booth. This is the only thing I know. I know where this is: the bathroom and the food stand. That's it. So we stay here. We don't move, and then at the end of the day, we go home.
They need those mall maps stationed in like.
Oh, what I'm saying, they do, but they I feel bad because they recognize us, and they're like, hey, do you know where this is? You know where the panel for this is, or what time this is? I'm like, I don't know, and they look at you like you don't. I'm like, no, I know about Zapp. That's it. There's too much going on, and then when
especially with all the people around you, it's just like the blinders. All you know is just what walks by.
Yeah, and I just want to make sure that nobody touches, steals anything. Maybe it's being helped. And the only thing I do is I run down the Artist Alley, because that's, if I was still a collector and I didn't have the business, if I went, I would probably never leave Artist Alley, because they didn't really have it like that when we were younger. Like, they didn't have the way it's set up now. Like, I mean, you can go walk right up to Joe Kelly and just have it. BS with him for like an hour. We didn't have that when we were younger, because there was only like one guy sitting there, and the line was down the street.
I was in Artist Alley for 15 minutes last year, and I was like, there's Simonson, Claremont, Kirkman, Liefeld. Like, that was just like, I walked in and they're just like, oh, we're standing here. This is us. I'm like, well, have a good day.
Well, that's the best part is when
top of the morning.
Say Kirkman's going to be signing at 1 o'clock. Yeah. At like 11, he's walking the floor, and you see him, because all the people that want to see him are in line, so he's going to go shop.
Exactly.
Like, last year, Jeff Lemire came by our booth. We were talking to him, and Joe Kelly came by. It's funny because you're like, hey, yeah, I got another 10 minutes before I have to get over there, because their people are taking care of their line. So they're just like, I'm gonna run out, because people who are gonna recognize me they're not like diehards. They're not gonna wait in line for me.
Blew up Kirkman's spot. I was just like, oh, Robert Kirkman, and people were just like, blood in the water.
Well,
and
I didn't realize you said how big is he? You said he's really big.
He is
right?
Oh man, he's
in
like
the pictures,
a bear.
He looks,
but he is like the jolliest guy. He's just like, he's a really tall dude with a beard, so he could just blend in with all of that, because there's so many of those. So, but he was just the nicest dude. I mean, like, it's just a madhouse.
Yeah, I mean, it's crazy.
With people, this is the best way to describe it. It's kind of like cinnamon, where you can have a little bit of cinnamon and it's great. But if you take a spoonful of it and try to eat a spoon of cinnamon, you will gag.
Yeah.
And that's what happens. There's just so many people stacked on top of people. It's just bodies and human smell.
So from now on, when you think of cinnamon, you're going to think of Comic-Con.
Because you guys have been more...
and deodorant.
Well, with that. Because I remember going to just local ones. I go with, I brought Joelle, my wife, and I remember her always say, like either creepy guys or the smell. Do you think, do these ones still have that, like, stereotypical smell?
They do, but you know what? But now, though, now it's more of a stereotype and, like, a running joke. Because it's so mainstream now, you don't see that.
But it's only so much of a stereotype. It's in. Yes. I remember the first year I went to Comic-Con, you get an email, and it gives you, like, a list of things to do before you go. And, like, the second one is, please bathe.
No, I know. No, seriously. you get some, but it's not like... People envision, oh my God, it smells. It doesn't.
No. I mean, it's 90% people that bathe and normal parts of society.
A lot of times it's families. It's guys with like our age with their kids.
Well, that's the thing too, I guess now, because it's so mainstream that it's no longer those outliers anymore. That people that are just oblivious to the world. Though
the only thing I do dislike about it getting so big is it takes away from like, I want to bring my wife and my 2 kids tomorrow as a courtesy, but you can't do it anymore because like our exhibit badges are getting less and less. They're very, very strict about it. You can't really hook up your friends anymore, which I understand because a lot of other shows like, he's with me, you could just walk in. So if you really want to experience a true comic book convention, like I said before, I would go to East Coast Comic Con or like Special Edition, as those are true. They're only comics, especially Special Edition. Special Edition is set up only for comic book publishers, comic book dealers, and artists and writers. There's no like entertainment stuff, and it's wonderfully done. And they're super smart because they sell Comic Con tickets there, so they're getting you to pay for 2 cons. They're like, yeah, if you buy a ticket for this con, you can get a chance to buy a ticket for other cons. So they're very smart, and it's business.
And just a small forward, if you're going there just to get Comic-Con tickets, walk around the show floor. It's awesome.
Yeah.
It's an awesome show. Don't waste the money. Don't pay money to get tickets. Enjoy the show you're at, because it's fun. And they don't just have this to sell tickets. There's a reason they do this.
Yeah, we did it last year.
Check it out.
The problem with last year was Father's Day weekend, and they moved it. So, because Sunday wasn't very busy, but Saturday was fine. And it's people know what it is, because last year I don't think anybody knew what it was. Now they do, because it's the Comic Con tickets.
Yeah.
So eventually they might even have to sell the tickets there. It's just going to become a show. Did you go to Special Edition last year, Nick?
Yes, maybe. Did I?
I don't know. I'm asking you. I figured you would know.
I was working here at the time. I think I did.
My best memory
Very
about
memorable
Comic Con
show.
last year is that was the first time Nick worked by himself. It was a Friday, and I go, let me know.
Right. I got
I go,
this
no,
one.
I goes, let me know if UPS brings anything. He goes, okay, and he sends me a picture. Funko sent an entire pallet of
An
like
entire
40
pallet.
different products.
40 different like pops and things like
And
that. And
reaction
I was before. I'm like, oh, Corey, we're just gonna get a small thing from UPS. I walk outside. I'm like, oh, come on.
Nick's by himself for the first time ever in the store. He gets a pallet.
Cleared the whole pallet. It was all done
Of
by the end
Funko.
of that day.
It was like, it was the reaction figures.
It was
That
reaction
the
figures,
I
it
remember
was
the big, I
pop-ups.
came in,
Yeah. I was just like, what do I do with all of these?
That's when you enact martial law on the floor. You pick the one person in the comic shop, like, you're in charge.
You're in charge.
Anyone moves, take you down.
Yeah, so and I know. Are there any exclusives this year? I don't. They haven't announced any yet.
Not for New York.
Not
I mean,
really.
but you know what? Because like last year they even changed it because Mattel had a floating one because they were coming, and then last year they canceled to go to New York. So the convention, the exclusive that was supposed to be for that, just got pushed to other places. So nothing really has
Because
come
last year
out
the
yet.
hot book was that Witches #1. That was
Yeah.
hot. Everybody was waiting in line for that.
Afterlife with Archie, their exclusive was big
Oh,
too.
yeah, that's right.
That they were, and then anything Spider-Gwen last year.
Yeah.
That just
Oh, yeah,
came
that
out.
just came
that
out,
was
yeah.
hot.
Oh,
Like,
really?
that
Was
was
it then?
Latour's.
Yeah.
Well, they didn't have a book yet,
Edge
but
of Spider-Verse.
there
That
was
was
Edge of
the
Spider-Verse
okay.
too.
that
And
was
then they
the hot
have all
book.
the exclusive, like Loot Crate had an exclusive box for Comic Con. There was a lot of different.
Hallmark had the. I know you're saying
Yeah.
ornaments, but it was like the Star Wars ones
Hey.
and stuff like that,
Yeah.
and
Well,
the Toy Tokyo. That was
everyone
nuts.
had a Funko exclusive.
Yeah.
It was just like, well, I have blue Harley Quinns. Like, well, I have shiny blue Harley.
Well, we
Quinn.
did
Oh, God,
we
man,
did our
Harley Quinn.
Wolverine like 4 years ago, and we were one of the only stores that did it, and we unveiled it at Comic Con. I don't know what year it was. It
had to be like
2011,
2000.
2012.
Yeah.
You weren't working here yet, were you?
No, I was,
Yeah, no, you weren't.
or it was like
I think it was the year
brand
before
new.
that.
Yeah.
But anyway, so it was like kind of like okay, and now every booth has a
Yep.
Funko. It's like ridiculous.
Yeah, but ours is great.
It's a brown custom Wolverine. It's awesome.
Come
Yeah.
on.
Come on. And then they, Reaction, they did the separate side. There's the Block, which they always change the name of, where it's kind of like the art / Japanese / like collector toy market. But it used to be like the Hasbro line. I waited on that Hasbro line. Oh man, you wouldn't go for those. Like back when they would have, especially Marvel Universe,
Yeah,
G.I.
He would just buy. He
Joe,
would just. We used to be able to get them from
Transformers.
San Diego. Like
Yeah.
we would have somebody
Yeah.
out there and we'd get them. But now you can't. You
Like
can't do
it
that
seemed
anymore.
like last year there was not like those things weren't there. There was
No.
exclusives at New York, but not like the San Diego like toy exclusives. Like
Yeah.
they have a million of them, and
like the
But-
Star Wars Black line, or like the
Yeah.
big lines. More so than like a one-off Funko.
Well, Funko really came out of nowhere, and they're like
On top of the world.
they have every license. The way they're doing the merchandising, they can make anything. You know what I mean? Because nothing. I know like as long as they make the Marvel and Hasbro type things, bobbleheads are good. Like Star Wars and Marvel, as long as they're bobbleheads, are good because they don't with the Mighty Mugs.
Mhm.
They're making anything, and the reaction figures was brilliant. I mean, because our generation loves that stuff. You know, when else would you get those figures? You wouldn't,
no, you wouldn't.
because they never made them back then. You know.
Oh, you get there's the Breakfast Club figures out there now. The Pops, it's like
They'll make it for anything.
Yeah.
I mean, I was able to buy Big Trouble in Little China figures this year. 2 different kinds, full sets.
yes,
That's ridiculous.
I've never seen the movie.
Really?
you're missing
Oh
out.
You're
man.
missing out.
If I didn't,
I never
have
seen
to,
Breakfast Club either.
If I didn't have
What?
to go and bleep out the things we say right now, I'd have some words for you, Corey. Those 2 movies.
I've never seen 16 Candles either.
Oh my God, are you a child from the 80s?
I never.
Yeah, but I wasn't into
He
that.
hated
just-
John
you
Hughes.
just
He
slept
was just
the
like,
whole
I
time.
hate that man.
Yeah.
I wasn't into that.
John
No.
Carpenter, John Hughes,
I
all
don't
the
really,
Johns,
John.
all the important Johns you missed.
He probably went and killed John Candy. We don't
Oh no, he was my favorite. I love John Candy.
To
Why did I
death.
kill him?
send him donuts.
I love John Candy. My boy.
You just upset him.
I know. I love it. You think I've never been accused of doing anything like that. You tell me
He's
I
like,
killed John Candy.
I've never seen these. That's messed up, man. Come on.
Do.
Summer Rental, baby. Dave just got me that.
I've never seen that.
Not bad.
It's not like a hit. It's just I love the movie.
It's no Big Trouble in Little China.
No.
That's what you mean.
I've never seen it.
You will.
I haven't seen half the. I never saw Mad Max, any of that stuff.
What?
This stuff was boring to me.
How? It's about a desert wasteland where people are blowing up each other. And
I was
crazy
into
cars.
like Gremlins and Ghostbusters.
Those are still good movies.
I
but
did
watch
great
Mad
movies
Max.
and Jaws and then sports. I got into sports and I
I've never
wasn't
seen
into
that
movies.
movie. What sports?
Sports 1 or Sports 2?
Who's in that?
Nick, you're not allowed to talk about
Sports is a
We've
good
had this
album,
conversation
Talk
before.
about all the sports. I've seen Major League. I know sports.
Major League's from the 80s. It's a great movie.
Youngblood.
That's one thing I never see at Comic-Con.
What?
Sports.
Sports.
They used some sports picks would pop up there for the McFarlanes.
Really?
There's wrestlers there last year. I forget who
Oh,
it was.
well, that-
was
yeah.
walking was it the Honky Tonk Man or somebody? I walked by.
Hacksaw
Yeah,
Jim
you
Duggan
would yell and you would
in
hear
the
him
back.
across
It's just silence. Like you're like, and then you hear, oh, like out of nowhere. Like, where is he? It's just like it's like Predator. Like you hear something behind you, and you're like, he's fine. He is the Minotaur in the labyrinth that we were
He's the
talking
Minotaur
about.
in the labyrinth of
It's like,
Comic-Con.
keep moving. Some giant guy's walking around with a 2x4. He's gonna smack me in the back of the head and scream.
So to go back on Comic-Con, do not. I don't want you shouldn't. I know it's frustrating you can't get tickets. It's frustrating that the site crashes, and all the stuff like that. But like we had a guy call and say, "Hey, you guys don't have Comic-Con tickets, right?" I'm like, "No, we don't." Okay. I finally got on and they were sold out. I said, "Oh, I'm sorry, but yeah, they only had Thursday, Friday, and Sundays left. They weren't sold out. So buy those 3 days and then try and get a Saturday. Like, get what you can. I mean, like, stuff's not going to get handed to you. Even though you've been doing this for years, it's not going to get handed to you. It doesn't work that way. I'm sorry. It doesn't go, oh, there's no royalty system where, oh, you're loyal, so here you get first shot. That doesn't work when it comes to this. It's frustrating. Believe me, I know. And being on this side of it, I don't live it, so I don't know how I would be if I was like waiting in line for tickets. I don't know if I would do that.
It's also kind of crazy because like this is the 3rd year it's been like this, but every year people are surprised it's like this.
But no, but every year it gets worse.
It's true.
It's true, but people act as though like it's never happened.
You know what?
before.
You know what it is? It's out of your hands.
Yeah.
Like when you can't come into a store and buy them, it's out of your hands because at the internet, it's you can't see who's in front of you.
It's the same for like concert tickets though. Like it's the same kind of format, but I guess
Yeah, but
since
concert
now-
tickets,
No, but
they've
now
always
since
the
it's
format's
blown
been
up
the same.
so much,
Yeah.
it's way worse. But it's been the same thing that's happened for like 2 or 3 years now. It just
but it's
gets
getting
harder.
worse.
But it, like you said, it's like different.
getting
Like
worse.
before, like you can go like it was up to the day. I mean, like you can still call in and get tickets. Like I mean, people calling the day of when I was hanging out, and then people were like, oh yeah, come in and whatever. And then it became like a couple days before when you sold out.
I think the reason
And
I
then
can't
it just-
relate is because when I was into it, it was never like that.
That's
it
what
was
I'm saying.
always
It's always
this
like this.
crazy.
Which is your generation's doing it, which is fine.
Yeah,
You guys
no,
are-
but that's what I'm saying. Like people who
Yeah,
are
thanks,
my
Nick.
age, I know I ruined everything. People who are my age and are complaining about it. It's been this way since we've got into it. Either we get used to it, or you find a different convention
Yeah.
to go to.
But it's also a thing too. Like if there's always new people coming in,
Yeah.
there's more people. So like they never experienced before that it was this crazy. They don't know what the hell's
Yeah.
going on. So they just know
That's true.
right now. So I mean, like they're like.
A perfect example is I worked at Toys R Us for many years, and Hot Wheels were very collectible. I'm not sure if they're still as big as they were now. They had these things called treasure hunts, where they were like really rare cars, and all the collectors wanted them, but people who were speculators and resellers would buy them too. And there was one guy that would come into the store 5, 6, 7 times a day, every day, because he was a tow truck driver. He would go by the store and just come in. Was he annoying? Yeah, but you know what? He would come in every day. He'd make the effort. And you would get this one guy who would come in the afternoon and be like, hey, your Hot Wheels in today? I'm like, yeah. And he'd be like, let me guess, he was here. And I'm like, yeah, he was here earlier today. And he would just walk out mad. He'd get mad, like, at us. I'm like, listen, this guy's coming in 4, 5, 6 times a day. He's like, I mean, granted, he has a job to do it. And is he kind of annoying? Sure. But he's making the effort. You stroll in here in the middle of a Wednesday, and it's not sitting there waiting for you, and you get mad. Like, it doesn't work that way. Like if you came in and you wouldn't leave stuff for him,
Yeah.
you know what I mean? Like, don't complain about something that you would do to somebody else. Like, but people, they want everything handed to them.
Don't get mad. Get even.
That's what I'm saying. Like, they want everything handed to them. Like, that's how I am with Comic-Con. If I really wanted to go, I would just pay for it online.
Yeah.
That's how I am. I just don't care.
It's easier to get Taylor Swift tickets right now than it is to get Comic-Con tickets. How crazy is that?
Well, it's becoming to that stage of scalping, I think,
Yeah.
where, you know...
It's a business.
Yeah.
It's a business, and it's a very with any where you can take, you know, a Square Reader on your phone. There's PayPal, there's eBay. It's very easy now. Back in the day, you had to like go in the corner and sell them, or like do it face to face. You can sell them anonymously online and do it. So it's easy to resell something, you know, and it's one of the reasons why comics are getting big too, because it's easy for you to sell your own comics. I mean, granted, unfortunately, a lot of people don't know how to grade their comics, so they're, you know,
Nightmare.
it's becoming a nightmare.
Yeah.
But that's, you know, people need to relax, and like we do Facebook launches for our books, a new wall book, so I give everybody a fair shot. You get guys that complain. They go, I do the launch at 9 a.m. I announce it, and at 2 o'clock in the afternoon, I go, let me guess, all the good books are gone. Yes, because I got people waiting, and they want them, and they're putting the effort in to go on there. And you call me at 2 o'clock in the afternoon and ask for the 2 hottest books in the store that already sold, and 50 people each asked for them, and you're like, oh, never mind. It's like, what do you expect?
Where did the term scalping come from? Because as a ginger, it makes me very uncomfortable.
There's a great episode of Seinfeld on that.
About the Native Americans scalping
Yes.
little ginger boys?
No, this Native American thing with the scalping.
I saw that one.
And reservations and sitting Indian style. It's funny.
Sounds funny.
It's very funny.
Bleh, I'm a Seinfeld. Bleh.
What is that?
My
It's like-
best Seinfeld impression.
It's like Vampire Seinfeld.
Winona. That's her
I'd
name.
watch that.
Yes.
I'd watch that.
It has a
What's
cigar
up
store
with the
Indian in it
sun?
too. It's all because of a cigar store Indian.
Okay.
Jerry buys it, and he really likes this girl that Elaine's friends with. So Elaine's having a party, so he brings it to Elaine as a gift, and he really likes this girl Winona, and she's a Native American, so it offends her. And the whole episode revolves around her and that cigar store Indian. And every time he goes to say something, he almost offends her, not meaning to. Indian giver.
All I've learned is that Jerry Seinfeld's terrible at gifts. That's a terrible gift. Offensive, horrible time.
He's a terrible person. That's the whole thing of the show.
Oh,
Yeah.
then it
They're all
matches.
terrible people.
Yeah, they're all terrible self-absorbed people. Kind of like Nick.
What?
Nick, you're my favorite Seinfeld.
Thank you.
I will do a podcast one day on Seinfeld because it's my favorite thing.
Going back to
I promise you that.
Comic-Con.
I promise. And Johnny will be on it. Dave won't be.
I'll get Seinfeld on it. I'll get Kramer on it, whatever.
Michael
What's
Richards.
the deal?
See, his is good.
What do you think? Now it's basically the two biggest are New York and San Diego,
Yes.
Yeah.
and New York's pretty much there. If they had a bigger place, they probably have more people. I mean, but that could said about San Diego also. You think what draws more? Like, what would, is it San Diego, or is it New York? Because I feel
New York, it should. If New York was bigger, New York has more people. It would just draw more.
Well, I think also. I mean, I think San Diego is a beautiful place, and it's a great place to go. But I think if you have a significant other, like if you're into comics, whether you're a guy or a girl, and your significant other isn't, I'm sure, like you say, well, do you want to go to New York for a week, or do you want to go to San Diego? I mean, here we're spoiled.
I go to San Diego in a heartbeat.
Yeah, well, I mean that's the thing. You could go
But
to New York
I live
in
out
2
here,
seconds.
though,
Yeah,
so
I mean like,
You could
but
hang
if
out
you're
with
like
the
in
San
like
Diegans.
Nebraska and you're just like, well, where do you want to go? I mean, I would think more people. I mean, would say, hey, I want to go to New York. I could do all these things in New York. I mean, not to say there's not stuff to do in San Diego.
But it's New York.
But it's New York. You know what I mean? Like you have
Frank Sinatra wrote a song
a
about it.
million things.
No, New York. If New
Kevin
York, I said,
McAllister had fun.
if you had the same exact size convention centers in both spots set up the exact same way, New York would have more people. And the reason why New York is not as big as San Diego is, I'm telling you now, because the weather can get kind of iffy, because they can't do as much outside, and it's congested. Everything's congested. San Diego, it's spread out. They have a whole thing outside. You don't have to go in the convention center.
They need a Cloud City Comic-Con.
Like if they had a bigger, like if Javits Center was ×2, it'd sell out.
Well, like we were saying, like, you know, if they had it, like, you know, if there was a convention center at the Meadowlands, like at the Meadowlands next to the stadium, and they just put, you know, the actual hall there, and then you could have the whole thing outside. I mean, it would probably be nuts there.
It'd be huge.
They should do the convention in a sports stadium. If we had a dome stadium.
They do those. That's how a lot of them are done in like hockey arenas.
Arenas?
Arena. What did I say? Arenas?
Arenas?
Arenas.
What was it? The Canadian or the Boston?
No, I think that was just my mumble. So yeah. Anyways, Comic-Con's coming up in October. Calm down. If you really want to go, I know it sucks. Pay extra for the tickets. If not, you can go to Special Edition June 6th and 7th. And you also in Midtown in August at some point. I know Midtown, though, they wait in line for like days.
It's crazy.
So.
If all else fails, find a friend with a ticket and cosplay as a horse. You could be the back side of the horse. Or a really tall guy wearing a coat.
I think they checked those.
No, not really tall guys in coats.
I don't know. Watch some Scooby-Doo and get back to me, guys. A lot of good ideas on there. We'll workshop some things.
So, for everybody here at Zapp, it's Jonny, Dave, Nick, and Corry. See you guys at the shop.
See you at Comic-Con, maybe.
Thanks for listening.
Take care.
Bye.
Wicked good times.
I was going to clap, but I'm like, what am I clapping about?
Zapp Comics Radio Podcast. Zapp Comics Radio Podcast. Zapp Comics Radio Podcast. Zapp Comics Radio Podcast. Comics Radio Podcast. Zapp Comics Radio Podcast. Zapp